Jake Morrison wiped the grease from his hands as he finished repairing another damaged shuttle engine at the Neptune space station. The massive structure floated at the edge of human space, where different alien races came to trade and share technology. Jake had worked here for 3 years as a mechanic and loved seeing the variety of beings that passed through the station every day. The market district buzzed with activity as Jake walked through after his shift. Vendors from 20 different worlds sold exotic foods and strange devices that hummed with alien energy. He stopped at his favorite food stall run by an old human woman named Mary, who made the best synthetic coffee this side of Mars. As he paid for his drink, something made him look up. She stood near the Andromedan fruit vendor across the market square. The alien woman was impossible to miss. Her skin shimmered and shifted like liquid mercury catching the artificial lights of the station. She towered at nearly 7 feet tall, with long white hair that moved slowly as if she was underwater. Her eyes were completely black with no whites at all, just deep pools of darkness that seemed to absorb light. Jake felt those eyes lock onto him across the crowded market. His heart skipped a beat from the intensity of her stare. She did not blink or look away, just watched him with an expression he could not read. Her face was human-like, but different, with high cheekbones and a mouth that seemed slightly too wide. She wore a flowing robe of deep purple fabric that appeared to be made from something not found on Earth. He quickly turned away and hurried toward his quarters, telling himself it meant nothing. The station saw thousands of visitors each day, and aliens often stared at humans out of curiosity, but something about her gaze felt different and more focused than simple interest. It made the hair on his neck stand up. The next morning, Jake ate breakfast in the main cafeteria with his friend Carlos, who worked in the communication center. They talked about the latest news from Earth and the new trade agreements with the Centauri colonies. Jake tried to focus on the conversation, but movement caught his eye. The alien woman sat 3 tables away, facing him directly. She had a cup of something blue and steaming in front of her, but she never touched it. She just watched. Carlos noticed Jake's distraction and turned to look. "What is wrong?" he asked, following Jake's gaze to the silver woman. "Oh, her. I have seen her around the station for the past few days. She gives me the creeps with those black eyes. Do you know what species she is?" Jake asked, trying to sound casual while his pulse quickened. Carlos shook his head. "Never seen her type before. Could be from one of the far systems that rarely visit human space. Want me to check the station records?" Jake said no and changed the subject, but he could feel her eyes on him for the rest of the meal. When he finally risked another glance, she was gone, leaving only the untouched blue drink on her table. That afternoon, Jake worked on a damaged cargo hauler in the repair bay. The work required concentration as he rewired the navigation system, but he kept making mistakes. His mind wandered to the strange woman and why she seemed so interested in him. He had done nothing unusual lately and had no enemies that he knew of among the alien races. A shadow fell across his work. Jake looked up to see her standing on the observation deck above the repair bay. She stood perfectly still like a statue with those black eyes fixed on him. Other workers moved around her, but she paid them no attention. Her focus was entirely on Jake. This was getting creepy. Jake put down his tools and headed for the stairs to confront her. But by the time he reached the observation deck, she had vanished. He asked the workers there if they had seen where she went, but they just shrugged and continued their tasks. That evening, Jake tried to relax in the recreation center where humans and friendly aliens gathered to play games and socialize. He joined a card game with some miners from the asteroid belt, trying to take his mind off his mysterious stalker. But 20 minutes into the game, he saw her again. She stood in the corner, partially hidden behind a support pillar. Watching, Jake threw down his cards and stood up, causing the other players to protest. He walked straight toward her, determined to get answers, but she moved with surprising speed. Her motion was fluid and graceful as she glided toward the exit. Jake followed her into the corridor. "Wait," he called out. "I just want to talk." She did not stop or look back, but moved faster through the twisting passages of the station Jake had to jog to keep up. They passed through sections he had never visited before, where the walls were marked with alien symbols and the air smelled different, like ozone and something sweet. Finally, she entered a room and the door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. "Jake, stood outside breathing hard and frustrated. The door had no visible handle or control panel, just smooth metal with strange markings he could not read. He pressed his hand against it, but nothing happened. Whatever technology controlled it did not respond to humans. He made his way back to his quarters with more questions than answers. Who was she and what did she want from him? Why watch him for days without speaking? The whole situation made no sense, and Jake did not like mysteries, especially ones that followed him around. That night sleep would not come as Jake lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow he decided he would find answers one way or another. The next morning Jake woke early with a plan. He went to the security office where his friend Amy worked monitoring the station's cameras. She owed him a favor after he fixed her personal shuttle last month, and now he needed to collect. Amy sat surrounded by dozens of screens showing every public area of the Neptune station. "I need help finding someone," Jake said, pulling up a chair beside her. "Can you track an alien woman for me?" About 7 feet tall with silver skin and black eyes, Amy raised an eyebrow. "You mean the one who has been following you around? I already noticed her on the cameras. She shows up wherever you go but never causes trouble, so security has not interfered." Jake leaned forward. "Can you tell me where she stays, or what ship she came?" Amy typed on her console and frowned. "That is strange. She does not appear in any arrival records, no ship registration, and no quarters assigned. It is like she just appeared on the station 3 days ago. But that is impossible with our security." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. How could someone be on the station without going through proper channels? The Neptune station had strict protocols and every visitor needed documentation. Amy pulled up more footage showing the alien woman at different times, always watching Jake from various distances. "Look at this," Amy said, pointing to a screen. "She never eats or drinks anything. She orders food and drinks but never consumes them. And watch this." Amy switched to infrared view. The woman barely showed any heat signature, just a faint glow where a normal person would be bright red and orange. "What does that mean?" Jake asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. Amy shrugged. "Could mean a lot of things. Some species have different biology than us. Maybe she does not need food like we do, or maybe she feeds differently. But the lack of proper heat signature is weird, even for aliens. Most living things generate some kind of heat." Jake thanked Amy and left with more questions than before. He decided to try a different approach. Instead of chasing the woman, he would make her come to him. He went to the most isolated part of the station. He could access a storage area near the outer hull, where few people ever went. He sat on a crate and waited. An hour passed, then 2. Jake was about to give up when he heard soft footsteps. The alien woman emerged from the shadows, moving with that same fluid grace. She stopped 10 feet away and they stared at each other in silence. "Why are you following me?" Jake finally asked, keeping his voice calm despite his racing heart. The woman tilted her head, studying him. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out at first. Then she spoke in a voice like wind chimes mixed with whispers. "You do not remember?" What Jake asked, standing up slowly to not startle her. She took a step closer and Jake could see his reflection in her black eyes, distorted and strange. "5 years ago," she said, "your ship, the Mercury Runner, encountered pirates near the Vega system." Jake's breath caught. He remembered that day clearly. Pirates had attacked several ships, including a Zalathi family transport. His crew had responded to the distress call and fought to save the passengers. It had been dangerous and chaotic, with laser fire and explosions everywhere. "There was a child," the woman continued. "A small Zalathi girl trapped in a damaged section of our ship. The hull was breaching and our people could not reach her in time. You went in alone despite the danger. You carried her to safety in your arms." The memory rushed back to Jake. The little girl with silver skin had been terrified and hurt. He had held her close as he ran through the failing ship, promising her everything would be okay. He had not thought about it in years, just another rescue among many in his career. "That child was my daughter, Kira," the woman said. And for the first time, emotion crept into her strange voice. "You saved her when I could not. You risked your human life for an alien child. You did not know." Jake felt his tension ease slightly. You are her mother. But why follow me like this? Why not just talk to me? The woman looked down. I am called Lyra among your people. I was afraid humans sometimes fear us because we look different. I needed to see what kind of person you had become. Some heroes change over time and become cruel or selfish. I watched to see if you were still good, and what did you see? Jake asked, curious despite himself. Lyra looked back up at him. I saw you help a young human who dropped his tools in the repair bay. I saw you share your lunch with a Martian worker who forgot his meal card. I saw you stay late to fix a poor trader's ship for free. You are still the same good person who saved my daughter. Jake felt embarrassed by her observations. He did not think of himself as particularly good, just someone doing his job. But then Lyra's expression changed and worry crossed her alien features. I need your help again, she said, stepping closer. Kira is very sick. Our medicine cannot cure her. The illness she has can only be treated with antibodies from a human who has physically touched her before. The connection you made when you saved her created a biological bond. Our doctors say only your blood can save her. Now. Jake stared at her in shock. Is that even possible? How can human blood help an alien? Lyra pulled out a small device that projected a hologram showing complex medical data. When you carried Kira, your human cells mixed with hers at a molecular level through her wounds. It created a unique immune response that her body remembers. Now that she is sick, her immune system needs that same human marker to activate properly. Without it, she will die within days. Jake did not hesitate. Of course I will help. Where is she? Tears formed in Lyra's black eyes, though they looked like liquid silver. Thank you, I knew you would say yes, but hearing it still fills me with relief. She is on our ship, docked at the far end of the station in the diplomatic section. The medical team is ready. They walked quickly through the station, and Jake noticed how other people moved out of Lyra's way. Some stared in fear or curiosity, but she ignored them all. Her focus was entirely on getting Jake to her daughter. As they walked, she explained more about her people and their biology, which was unlike anything Jake had learned about before. The Zalathi ship was unlike anything Jake had seen before. Its hull seemed to ripple and shift like water, but remained solid to the touch. Inside, the corridors glowed with soft blue light, and the air smelled sweet, like honey mixed with rain. Lyra led him deeper into the ship, where other Zalathi watched them pass. All had the same silver skin and black eyes, but each looked unique in their own way. The medical bay doors opened to reveal a room filled with strange equipment that hummed and pulsed with energy. In the center lay a small figure on what looked like a floating bed. Kira had grown since Jake last saw her, but she was still young, maybe the equivalent of a human teenager. Her silver skin looked dull and gray, instead of the healthy shimmer her mother had. She is sleeping, Lyra whispered. Most of the time she is too weak to stay awake. The illness attacks her immune system and makes her body forget how to heal itself. A Zalathi doctor approached them, speaking in their musical language to Lyra before switching to English for Jake Human Morrison. We are grateful you have come. I am Dr. Venn, and I have studied your medical files that the station shared with us. Your blood type and antibodies are compatible for the procedure. Jake rolled up his sleeve. How much blood do you need? Not much, Dr. Venn explained. We will take a small amount and multiply it using our technology. The important part is the immune markers your cells carry. We will combine them with Zalathi medicine to create the cure. The procedure will take 3 hours. Jake sat in a chair that adjusted itself to his body perfectly, a strange device attached to his arm with no needle, just a warm sensation as it began drawing blood. He watched his red blood flow through transparent tubes into an alien machine that spun and glowed. The technology was so advanced it made human medical equipment look primitive. While they waited, Lyra sat beside him and told him more about their people. The Zalathi came from a world of endless oceans where cities floated on the waves. They were traders and explorers who valued knowledge above all else. Their society had no wars because they settled disputes through elaborate debates and competitions of logic. Your people are very different, Lyra said. Most species we meet are driven by power or resources. Humans are driven by something else. You help others even when there is no benefit to yourselves. This is why many aliens fear you. Fear us? Jake asked, surprised. Why would they fear kindness? Lyra smiled, and it was strange but beautiful on her alien face. Because kindness without logic is unpredictable. You saved my daughter not for payment or alliance, but because it was right. This makes humans dangerous, to those who think only in terms of profit and loss. They cannot understand you or control you. Jake had never thought of it that way. He watched the machine work with his blood, creating something that glowed purple in small vials. Dr. Venn checked readings on holographic displays and nodded with satisfaction. After an hour, Kira stirred and opened her black eyes. They focused on Jake and grew wide with recognition. She tried to speak, but Lyra touched her shoulder gently. Rest, little one, she said. The human is here to help you as he did before. Kira reached out a thin hand toward Jake. He took it carefully and was surprised by how warm it felt. Despite looking so different, he could see the fear and hope in her eyes that any sick child would have. She squeezed his hand weakly and he squeezed back. You will be okay, Jake told her, I promise. Dr. Venn prepared the first injection of the new medicine. It glowed purple in the syringe as he pressed it against Kira's neck. The effect was almost immediate. Her skin began to shimmer slightly and her breathing became stronger. The doctor nodded and prepared the second dose. While they treated Kira, an alarm suddenly echoed through the ship. Red lights flashed and Lyra jumped up, speaking. Rapidly in her language, another Zalathi ran into the medical bay and spoke urgently to her. What is happening? Jake asked. Pirates, Lyra said with fear in her voice. The same group that attacked us 5 years ago. They have found us and are demanding we surrender Kira for ransom. They know she is the daughter of our ambassador. Jake stood up, anger flooding through him. Not a chance. We need to get her to the station security. The station defenses will not fire on the pirates while we are docked, Lyra explained. They could damage the station itself. We are trapped. Jake thought quickly. How long before the pirates board? 10 minutes, maybe less. The other, Zalathi said. Jake turned to Dr. Venn. How many more treatments does Kira need? 2 more doses, 1 hour apart. He cannot be moved during treatment or the medicine will fail. Then we fight, Jake said firmly. Call the station security and tell them what is happening. I will buy us time. Lyra grabbed his arm. You cannot fight them alone. There are too many. Jake smiled. Watch me. Humans might be kind, but we also protect our friends. He ran from the medical bay toward the ship's docking port. His mind raced with plans. The pirates expected to find helpless victims, but they had not counted on a human being aboard. Jake had fought pirates before and knew their tactics. They relied on fear and overwhelming force, but they were also cowards at heart. At the docking port, Jake found emergency supplies, including foam sealant and flares. He began setting traps using his knowledge of station mechanics to create obstacles. The Zalathi crew watched in amazement as he worked with determined efficiency. The pirate's ship, attached with a loud clang and cutting tools, began working on the hull. Jake positioned himself behind cover and waited. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. The first pirate through the breach walked right into his trap, and foam sealant exploded around him, trapping him in place. More pirates pushed through, but Jake was ready. He used the flares to blind them and the station's emergency alarm to confuse them. The narrow docking port worked to his advantage, as they could only come through one at a time. He fought with everything he had, not with expert skill, but with desperate determination to protect the sick child. In the medical base station security arrived just as Jake was running out of tricks. They arrested the pirates, who surrendered quickly when faced with armed professionals. Jake stood breathing hard and covered in foam and scorch marks from the battle. Lyra appeared and threw her arms around him in a very human gesture of gratitude. Station security took the pirates away in energy cuffs while Jake sat in the Zalathi medical bay, getting his own minor injuries treated. Dr. Venn worked on his bruised ribs and the burn on his arm from a pirate's laser that had grazed him. The Zalathi medical technology healed the wounds in minutes, leaving no scars behind. Kira had received all 3 doses of the medicine and already looked better. Her silver skin glowed with health again, and she sat up in bed watching Jake with those deep black eyes. When Dr. Venn finished treating him, Kira spoke for the first time, her voice soft but clear. "You saved me twice now," she said in accented English. "Mother taught me your language while I was sick so I could thank you properly." "How can one person owe so much to another?" Jake moved closer to her bed and smiled. "You do not owe me anything. I am just glad you are okay. That is all the thanks I need." Kira shook her head. A very human gesture she must have learned. Our people believe in balance and debt. "You have given me life twice and I must find a way to repay this," before Jake could protest. Lyra entered carrying a small box made of something that looked like blue crystal. She sat beside her daughter and opened it. Inside lay a smooth stone that pulsed with soft blue light like a heartbeat. "This is a soul stone," Lyra explained. "Every Zelathi family has one passed down for generations. It connects us across space and time, allowing us to find each other no matter how far apart we are." She lifted the stone and it split into 2 pieces in her hands. One she gave back to Kira, and the other she offered to Jake. "We want you to have this," Lyra said. "You are family now. The stone will let you call us if you ever need help, and we will come. It will let us know if you are in danger. Even across the galaxy, we will feel it." Jake took the stone carefully. It felt warm in his hand and he could feel a gentle pulse through his palm, like it was alive somehow. "I cannot accept this," Jake said. "This is too important to your family." "You are part of our family now," Kira said firmly. "In our culture, someone who saves a child becomes a parent to them. You are my second father by our law, whether you accept it or not." Jake felt tears in his eyes. He had no family of his own back on Earth. His parents had died in an accident years ago and he had no siblings. The idea of belonging to a family again, even an alien one, touched something deep inside him. "Thank you," Jake whispered, holding the stone close. "I will treasure this always." Over the next few days, Jake spent time with Kira and Lyra as she recovered fully. They taught him about Zelathi culture and language while he told them stories about Earth and human history. Kira was particularly fascinated by human music and art, which were very different from her people's expressions. The Zelathi ambassador, Kira's father, arrived on the station to thank Jake personally. He was even taller than Lyra, with silver skin that had hints of gold. His name was Xeron, and he carried himself with dignity and power. "You have given me back my daughter twice," Xeron said in perfect English. "There is no gift large enough to repay this debt, but I offer you something that might help. You humans are new to the galactic community and many species do not trust you yet. As ambassador, I will speak for humanity to the Galactic Council. I will tell them of your courage and kindness." Jake was overwhelmed. This could change everything for humanity. Having an advanced species like the Zelathi supporting them would open doors that had been closed, establish trade routes that had been denied, make alliances that had been impossible. "Why would you do so much?" Jake asked because Xeron said, putting a large hand on Jake's shoulder. "You have shown us what humans truly are, not through words or politics but through actions. You represent the best of your species, and if there are more like you, then humanity deserves its place among the stars." When it came time for the Zelathi to leave, Jake stood at the docking port to say goodbye. Kira hugged him tightly no longer. The scared child he had first saved, but a young woman who had faced death and survived. She pressed something into his hand, a small device. "This is my personal communicator," she said. "Call me. Sometimes I want to hear about your adventures and tell you about mine." Lyra embraced him next, whispering in his ear, "You have a mother again if you want one. I will worry about you, as I worry about Kira." Jake watched their ship leave, feeling both sad and happy. The soul stone pulsed against his chest where he wore it on a chain. He returned to his normal work at the station, but everything felt different now. 2 weeks later, the first message came through. The stone. It was not words but feelings. warmth, gratitude, and love from across space. Kira letting him know she was thinking of him. Jake sent his own feelings back. Joy, pride, and affection. The connection worked both ways. Months passed, and Jake's life changed in ways he never expected. Other aliens at the station treated him with new respect. Word had spread about the human who fought pirates to save an alien child. Xeron kept his promise and spoke to the Galactic Council. Slowly, attitudes toward humanity began to shift. One day the station came under attack by a massive pirate fleet. They demanded surrender, and the station's defenses were overwhelmed. Jake held the Soul Stone and sent a desperate call for help. He did not know if it would work, or if the Zalathi were too far away. 20 minutes later, Zalathi warships appeared through hyperspace jumps surrounding the station. Their advanced weapons made quick work of the pirate fleet. Lyra's face appeared on the communication. "Screen family protects family," she said simply. No matter the distance. After the battle, Jake realized the truth of what had happened. His single act of kindness years ago had created ripples that spread across the galaxy. One saved child had led to an alliance that now protected thousands. The pirates who had once threatened innocent families now fled at the sight of Zalathi ships defending human stations. Jake continued his work as a mechanic, but now with a purpose. He was not just fixing ships, he was part of something bigger, a bridge between species. A proof that kindness and courage could unite even the most different of beings. His small apartment on the station had pictures now. Kira at her graduation from the Zalathi Academy. Lyra and Xeron at a diplomatic dinner. A group photo of humans and Zalathi working together. The galaxy was vast and full of danger, but it was also full of family. Sometimes in the most unexpected places and forms, Jake touched the Soul Stone and felt the warm pulse of connection. He was never alone anymore. He had saved one life and gained an entire world of family in return. That was the true power of humanity. Not their weapons or technology, but their ability to love without limits, to protect without question, to make family from strangers. That was the gift they brought to the stars. 3 years had passed since Jake received the Soul Stone, and his life had changed completely. He was no longer just a mechanic at Neptune Station, but had become known throughout human space as the bridge builder, the human who connected Earth with the Zalathi. The alliance had brought new technology and trade that helped both species prosper. Jake was working on a new type of engine that combined human and Zalathi technology when his Soul Stone began pulsing urgently. This was different from the usual warm communication from Kira or Lyra. This felt cold and desperate. He grabbed the stone and focused on the feeling. Something was terribly wrong. Within minutes, a message came through the station communication system. It was Kira, and she looked terrified. Behind her, Jake could see chaos and smoke. "Jake, we need help," she said quickly. "Our world is under attack. Not pirates this time. Something else. Something worse. They came from dark space and they are destroying everything." The transmission cut off, leaving Jake staring at the blank screen. He ran to the station command center where Commander Lisa Chen was already receiving reports from deep space sensors. "We are detecting massive energy signatures near the Zalathi home system." Chen said multiple unknown vessels attacking their colonies. "Their technology is beyond anything we have seen." Jake felt the Soul Stone pulse again. This time he sensed fear from many Zalathi, not just his adopted family. The entire species was calling. "For help, we have to do something." Jake said to Chen, "They came when we needed them, now they need us." Chen shook her head sadly. "What can we do? Their technology is superior to ours. If the Zalathi cannot stop these attackers, how can humans help?" Jake thought. About this, Chen was right in terms of weapons and ships, but humans had something else. Something that had saved them before he touched the Soul Stone and made a decision. "I need to send a message to Earth to all human colonies." Jake said, "Every human who has ever been helped by an alien, every human who has made friends with other species, we need them all." Chen looked at him like he was crazy. "That would take weeks to organize. We do not have that kind of time." Jake smiled. "Trust humans to do the impossible when friends are in danger." He recorded a message that was sent to every human settlement in known space. He told them about the Zalathi, how they had stood up for humanity, how they had protected human stations. He told them about Kira, the child he had saved who was now in danger herself. He asked for anyone who could help to come to Neptune Station. The response was beyond anything Jake had imagined. Within hours, ships began arriving. Not military vessels, but cargo ships mining. Vessels transport ships modified with weapons. Humans who had never met the Zalathi came because they had heard the story. Pilots who had been saved by other alien species came to pay forward the kindness. Mechanics like Jake, who had fixed alien ships without payment, came with tools and determination. By the second day, over 300 human ships had gathered. It was not a proper fleet, but it was something more. It was humanity united by purpose. Carlos from the communication center had contacted other species telling them what the humans were doing. The Andromedans sent medical ships. The Centauri sent their fastest scouts. Even species that had never helped humans before sent what they could. Jake stood on the bridge of the lead ship, an old cargo hauler that had been equipped with Zalathi shields. He wore a combat suit that felt strange and heavy. The soul stone pulsed against his chest under the armor. Around him were humans from every colony, each one here by choice, not by order. The journey to the Zalathi system took 2 days through hyperspace. When they emerged, they found a battle beyond imagination. The attacking ships were black and angular like broken glass given form. They fired weapons that seemed to tear space itself. The Zalathi fleet was fighting bravely, but they were outnumbered 3-1. Then something amazing happened. The moment the human fleet appeared, the soul stones carried by Jake and other humans who had been given them began to glow. The Zalathi ships suddenly fought with renewed strength, knowing they were not alone. The human ships were outmatched in technology, but not in creativity. Where the attackers expected standard battle tactics, humans did the unexpected. Cargo ships rammed enemy vessels after evacuating their crews. Mining ships used their industrial lasers in ways never intended. Transport ships dropped mines made from modified fuel cells. Jake's ship moved toward the Zalathi flagship, where he could sense Lyra and Kira were fighting. A black ship moved to intercept them. Its weapons charging, Jake made a choice that was either brave or stupid depending on how it turned out. He put on an EVA suit and launched himself from an airlock directly at the enemy ship. It was insane, but the attackers had not expected a single human to fly through space toward them. Jake landed on their hull and used mining charges to blow a hole in it. Then he went inside. The interior of the enemy ship was dark and cold. The beings inside were like shadows with form, creatures of darkness that seemed to drain light itself. But Jake had something they did not expect. He held up the soul stone and it blazed with blue light. The connection to thousands of Zalathi and the love of his adopted family made it shine like a star. The shadow beings recoiled from the light. They had never encountered anything like it before. Their whole existence was about taking and destroying. But the soul stone represented giving and creating. It was their opposite in every way. Jake pushed forward using the stone like a weapon of pure light. Other humans had the same idea across the battle. They used their connections, their friendships, and their love as shields against the darkness. It was not technology that turned the battle, but emotion. Not weapons, but willingness to sacrifice for others. The shadow beings began to retreat. They could not understand creatures who grew stronger when protecting others. Their whole philosophy was based on taking power, but humans and their allies were giving power to each other freely. It made no sense to them, and what they could not understand, they could not defeat, as the last enemy ship fled into dark space. Jake found himself on the Zalathi. Flagship Kira ran to him and hugged him so tight his ribs hurt again. Lyra was crying those silver tears while Xeron stood tall but shaken. "You came," Kira whispered. "All of you came." Jake looked out at the mixed fleet of ships from 12 different species, all brought together by human stubbornness and loyalty. "That is what friends do," he said. "We show up when needed." The battle was over, but its impact would last forever. The galaxy had seen what happened when species stood together. The shadow beings would think twice before attacking again, knowing that an attack on one would bring them all. Back at Neptune Station weeks later, a celebration was held. Humans, and Zalathi and dozen other species mingled freely, sharing food and stories. Jake stood, with his adopted family watching the crowd. He still wore the Soul Stone, but now he understood it better. It was not just a communication device. It was a symbol of what connected all thinking beings in the universe. The capacity to care for others, even when they were different. The courage to fight for friends even when the odds were impossible. The wisdom to know that strength came not from standing alone, but from standing together.